We're live on YouTube and Facebook. Happy Friday, everyone. Hope you're having an awesome week. Sorry for the echo, but we're in the new digital room, our little media room, and it's kind of all white walls right now. We're going to put some more stuff in here, knock some of this echo down. But super pumped to bring you a gator hunting equipment overview. So for those of you who are gator hunters, this is for you. And for those of you who are custom rod builders, this is also for you, because I'm going to show you how I use some of the heat shrink and Winn wrap that we use in rod building and how it converts over to being useful in gator hunting as well. I'm all about being comfort. I'm all about being comfortable when I'm gator hunting, and I want my stuff to look good too. It also helps it float and just makes it easier for our clients to use. So real quick and easy, these hooks stand for themselves, right? Kind of speak for themselves. Super sharp mustad treble hooks, different sizes. I have 10-aught, 12-aught. There's a 14 that's not here. Then I have a 16 and a 20. So if you're a gator hunter, there's different times where we need different size hooks, okay? If you're throwing to a gator in shallow water, a smaller, lighter hook does better because it doesn't snag the bottom or snag the grass, as it's not as likely to, right? It's gonna stay shallower and get up high, get the gator, as opposed to snagging the bottom. There's nothing worse than spotting a big gator, casting at him, and snagging the bottom before you ever get to the gator. That stinks. So I have multiple rods in the boat with different size hooks, different size weights at all times. And then I also keep some of these big hooks on hand lines, ropes, so I can drop down to the bottom and pull a big gator up once I've got him boat side. We also have our harpoon driver and base. These are crucial. No matter where you're gator hunting, I can't think of a time where you would not want to have a harpoon on the boat. Even if you're not harpooning for your first line, once you get your gator up, let's say you're in a place where you like to get them on the snag rod first, catch your treble hook out there, snag them, fight them, or on a bait, right? We've got our bait rigs here. However you want to get a gator to the boat, I get it. You know, whatever it takes. But once he's at the boat, chances are I'm going to put a harpoon in him. What's up, Felix?
Good. We're going to go live on Facebook again. It couldn't connect.
The feed couldn't connect, that's okay.
Yeah.
Did it lose it or could you share it?
I'm sharing it now, and then I'm going to go live again.
Okay. Technical difficulties. What about YouTube? Is it still alive?
Still live.
YouTube's still alive. YouTube's hanging in there, leading the way. So if you're watching on YouTube, thumbs up. If you haven't watched our snapper video, go check that out. We posted that last week, I believe. We have some new ones coming to you. So check that out. Looks like YouTube's leading the way here as far as staying connected. So it might be worthwhile to subscribe if you haven't already. That way you get our live feeds right away. And we'll do our best to bring them both on YouTube and Facebook. But Facebook gets all the good videos. Or YouTube, sorry. YouTube gets all the good videos. Are we back on Facebook?
We are back.
So Facebook land, we're back. Technology does what it does. So anyway, real quick, hooks. We're getting to the harpoon and driver. Guys, no matter how you get a gator boat side, you gotta have a harpoon in the boat, in my opinion, to get a line in him that can't come out or isn't as likely to come out. Hooks, they pull, lines break. If you bury a harpoon in a gator, chances are he's not getting away, okay? So real quick, how we put this together, we have our base, screw in a driver. The reason these are removable is because at some point, if you hit a gator hard enough and you hit enough gators, you're gonna bend this tip. It's just the nature of it. We even sell the thickest, strongest ones available. We don't sell the thin ones anymore, only sell the big boys. And sometimes they still bend, okay? Not a big deal. Keep an extra one in your boat or two. You can unscrew it, screw a new one back in, and now you're off to the races, okay? So once I do that, take your dowel. You can get these at Ace Hardware, you get them at Lowe's, etc. And all you do is simply slip that base over into the dowel, like I did there. And personally, I slam it on there to where it's not coming off, and I know it's not coming off. You could do without this screw, but personally, I like a little bit of insurance at the same time. Take the screw and just drill it in here. Boom. Okay, so that set screw right there is going to make sure this doesn't twist, doesn't pull off, and you're good. It has a hole for a second one. If you want to put a second one, I've never had an issue with it.
Out on Facebook again.
Are we on Wi-Fi?
Let me see.
All right, so harpoon, easy as that. And YouTube's still hanging in there. We're not on Wi-Fi, that's why. All right, so do this. All right. Come on. Okay. There you go. There you go. Should be going live right now.
All right.
We're back live. Facebook land, if you're still with us, thank you, thank you. You're much better than Facebook or than YouTube. You guys are awesome. So we went over hooks, base and driver for your harpoon, super quick and easy. Bait rigs, we sell these in 3 packs, and this is I think 300-pound mono. Never ever had one break. I don't do a lot of baiting. I think it can be hit and miss, but certain situations definitely call for baiting. I will always have bait rigs with me. Almost always have a bait or 2 with me. Whether I use it or not, probably not, but at least I have them with me. And they're cheap and easy, guys. Just keep them with you, keep a bait with you in case you have a gator you can't get a hook into. Find a way to get a bait back to them, and you can save your night. Bang stick, real quick and easy. These are our 5.5-foot floating bang sticks available in 357 and 44 Magnum. Personally, I use a 357 just because I have 357 pistols, so it's just easy for ammo, but also because I'm not a big fan of the super loud concussion that can happen with a 44 mag. It can happen with a 357 too, but it's not as bad. The trick here is make sure you shoot that gator underwater. You want his head to be just underwater when you pop him with it. If he comes up too fast and is exposed, if you hit him then, your ears are going to ring, you're going to blow bone everywhere. Just not as pleasant, right? Let that gator sit there, push him back down if you have to. Use your harpoon pole to ease him down if you have to. Take that shot just underwater. That little bit of water will save your ears, potentially save someone from getting a bone fragment in them, and it just makes a much better way to end the hunt, right? You're pumped up, gator's boat side. The last thing you want is everyone going, ooh, my ears are blown out. Let them be underwater, and then hit them, okay? And if you don't get a perfect shot, hit them again, underwater. You know, it's just, bullets are cheap, your ears are not. Protect your ears, take shots underwater. Okay, another big benefit to our bang sticks, worth mentioning real quick. The end of it is threaded, okay? So let's say you're somewhere and you lose your harpoon, or your harpoon breaks, or for whatever reason you lose it. Who knows? Or maybe you don't like using a harpoon, so you're not going to bring an 8-foot pole with you. Guys, if you have a driver with you, this right here, it threads into the back of our bang stick. Pretty cool, right? So it's dual purpose. You can use it as a bang stick and then flip it around, use it as a harpoon. Obviously, use the harpoon first. But just a simple little point to make there. One thing I'm going to do to this to help make it float even higher, make it even more visible, and it looks even cooler in my opinion, is I'm going to wrap it with some Winn wrap. If you're not familiar with Winn wrap, it's the same company that's been around forever making golf clubs, and their stuff is high quality. It's not going to fade, tear, rip, whatever. And if it ever did, you just peel it off and do it again, right? So it's literally just simple. So it's like a tennis handle wrap. It has an adhesive on the back of it, and you literally just peel it off, stick it on there, wrap it around like a candy cane, and it sticks on there. You can take some thread, wrap over it if you're a rod builder and epoxy it, or take some heat shrink, like I'm going to do here, and heat shrink over the ends, that way the ends never pick and lift. Super quick and easy. I can do the same thing to my harpoon, right? But harpoons tend to eventually get broken, get lost, do something. So I don't know that I'm going to Winn wrap a harpoon, but I am going to heat shrink it, okay? Real quick and easy. And I'm also going to, at the end of it all said and done, I'll take a small piece of noodle, like a pool noodle for the kids, and I'll put it right here just above the driver, and it helps it float. This is the heavy end of the harpoon because it has the metal on it, and if that end goes down, it's more apt to sink. If you take a small piece of pool noodle and just electrical tape it or zip tie it here to the harpoon, it'll help your harpoon float. That end will float. This end wants to sink. Put a little float on here, zip tie it, electrical tape it, whatever you want to do. It will not interfere with anything, and if someone drops it in the weeds or whatever, it's easier to go back and find it. Okay, little tip for you. Let's heat shrink this harpoon real quick. Another thing that I like to do when heat shrinking is heat shrink the end of it, because this is kind of an abrupt corner here, and it could splinter, it could bang up your boat a little bit, so that little bit of heat shrink provides a bit of a cushion there, if you will. Just little things that add up, right? And as an outfitter, I want to keep my boat nice, I want people to be comfortable, not be getting splinters, so I cover the wood with heat shrink, and just makes it that much less of a chance for something to happen. So I'm going to do half down here where the hands are going to go, and half back here where your backhand is going to go. Typically when you're holding a harpoon, put your right hand, or whichever your dominant hand is, on the back of the harpoon. That's where your power comes from as you drive it, and then your front hand is your hand that you use to primarily aim and support a harpoon, right? Another little trick for you, if you're a gator hunter, if you've had success and you know how to harpoon, do it your own way. If you're new to it, I highly suggest your forehand, you palm up, okay? Support that harpoon like this, okay? That will help you keep it where you want it and drive with this hand. If you go overhand, it's just instinct. It wants to go down. Your hand just, if you go forward, your hand just naturally pushes down when the palm is down. I'm telling you, palm up, much higher success hitting a gator, especially on the fly. Obviously, if he's boat side, you've already got him hooked up, stick him however you want. But on the fly, it can be tricky, and we gig a lot off the airboat. So it definitely helps to have that palm up. Okay. And I'm just going to set this up literally like I would if I was hunting. Okay. So my hand is back. Typically, I'm going to be back here somewhere, depending on how far out the gator is when I stick them. So I know somewhere in here, I'm going to have a grip. So let's do that back grip first. And then once I feel comfortable with that back grip, I'll heat shrink that foregrip. So it's literally as easy as slamming it on and hitting it with a hair gun or a hair dryer or a heat gun. Overlap just a tad so that the edge of the heat shrink curls around the back of the harpoon. That'll keep it nice and secure, and it'll keep that the butt of the harpoon, that backside, from slamming your deck. Literally just a heat gun from the hardware store. There's a buoy that we tie to our lines, and this stuff takes off pretty quick. I'm trying to use the heat gun on low, that way it doesn't get as loud. You can see it curling around that edge there. I'm trying to have to get my black shirt behind it so you can see. Just like that, it's taking the shape of the harpoon. And that little bit right there, you can either push down, you can glue down, cut off, or leave. Personally, I leave it. It just acts like a little bit more of a bumper if you hit the deck of your boat. Okay? And once you, I don't know how easy this is to see, but see I'm right in that ridge, and it's just taking that down. Super quick and easy. I'm going to put this thing up on high. We've got a lot to do here. Straight down. So this is half of a 3-foot section of heat shrink. So we've got 1.5 feet of heat shrink going down here. It's literally, if you have extra heat shrink, get it out the way. Don't waste it. So I just did that whole top side, and then I'll rotate it a little bit. You have to heat all sides of it to make sure it gets its full shrink. You could take reflective tape if you wanted to and wrap this in reflective tape. That way you can shine your headlight on it. It'll obviously reflect. It makes it easier to find if you drop one in the night. I have definitely lost my share of harpoons. But it's part of it. But the noodle trick helps a lot. And no matter what, if you're hunting seriously, or more than one gator, I keep multiple harpoons in the boat. I keep 3 in the airboat, and I keep 2 in the bay boat. One snaps, they get lost, whatever, and we're out there hunting multiple gators. You don't want to be without a harpoon. Let's see if we can. Yeah, it's all tight, and there's no play in that. I mean, I can't even try to get it to lift up. Yeah, nice and tight. Nice bumper there on the back side, so if you hit the deck of the boat, you have a little bit of rubber there from the heat shrink. Protects the boat, protects the hunter as well. If they hit themselves in the gut with it or whatever, it's not going to stick them or splinter. So with that being done, I'm going to be standing somewhere, holding it somewhere right here when we're harpooning. Probably won't choke down too much more than right there. I won't choke up much more than here. So that's a pretty good spot, okay, for the second piece of heat shrink. It's almost in the middle, and that's a hand that's super important because that's your guide hand. You want to make sure you're comfortable, make sure your clients are comfortable. This is an 1 1/4, 1 5/16 dowel. They're also available at 1 1/2. We have bases for both. Personally, I like the 1 5/16. It's a little bit lighter. It's more comfortable when you're holding it out there. When you're riding in the airboat, I don't want my clients to get tired. I want them to stay Johnny on the spot and be ready and not be fatigued when that big boy shows up. We got to stick them. So a little bit lighter pole makes a difference to me, and it's actually quite a bit lighter. We're talking 1/4 of an inch, basically diameter, over 8 feet. It adds a lot of weight. You can shrink this boy down real quick. Our heat gun's already hot, so it's going to go a lot quicker on this one. You want to make sure when you're doing this, you work from one direction. And that keeps you from having any bubbles in between. Which if you go back, they would tighten up, but if you missed them, you might get a bubble or a wrinkle. That first pass is always the most impressive. That's when it pulls down, but the rest of it is just as important because it helps the rest of it tighten up. You don't want this stuff getting loose and wrinkling or spinning on you. I've never had that problem, but I imagine it would if you didn't shrink it all the way down. Okay. So with that being done, I can't even get it to pull up. That's it. Okay, so literally this is a $20 harpoon pole. I think the heat shrink's like $5-6. The base and driver, I think we sell a kit with points for like $25. So this whole thing right here is less than $50, or maybe right at it. And it's probably one of the most, if not the most important tool in my Gator arsenal. You gotta have them. I keep 5 of them rigged and ready. 3 in the airboat, 2 in the bay boat. Stuff happens, you gotta be able to adapt on the fly and get that gator or multiple gators. Okay, so harpoon is done. He's ready to fly. One thing you can do, on this one here, I put a nut in front of the driver. That just helps secure that driver. If you don't put a nut in front of there, you don't have to, but be aware these can loosen up and rattle and eventually fall out. So I like to put a nut on it, and if you don't put a nut, I suggest you doing like some thread lock on your threads or some tape to make sure it's good and snug, because there's nothing worse than riding around all night, finding that big gator and realizing the tip of your driver is going. Now you can't stick them. So a little tip there. All right, we'll get that out of the way. I will put a kid's pool noodle on that later. Extra drivers, gotta have those. Bang stick, it already floats, but this looks kind of boring, right? So Winn wrap, for those of you rod builders who are still with us, quick and easy. Again, back, handle, and the foregrip, okay? So my two areas right here. I don't have a marker with me, so I'll just use my hand, okay? I know I'm gonna start at least here, wrap up quite a bit, then I'm gonna start again back here. Just two sections. You could use it, you know, a tape measure and a marker if you were doing this the right way, but we're live, so it is what it is. It's literally as easy as peeling that back off, and let's test this again real quick. Right about here. So take my Winn wrap, put it at an angle, right? Because we're going to spiral it, and you may have to come back and adjust your angle. Like there, I need to come back and change it just a tad. Just like that. Guys, I did nothing special there. I didn't measure anything. I didn't do anything tricky. Just started it and worked it back and forth to where once I made one revolution, I could see if my angle was right or wrong. And I adjusted a little bit. And now I'm just going to pull it tight and roll it like a candy cane. And you'll see there's that little edge right here, that flat spot in the tape. That's what you want to overlap. If you overlap that little edge, then it's never going to lift. And if you get your angle, wrong, just come back and adjust it. And I'm keeping pretty steady pressure with this hand right here. And that keeps that wrap going down nice and tight. And I'll come back and tighten up again once we're done. And I'll take some heat shrink and heat shrink where I start and stop. That way those never lift. The Winn wrap does also come with a whip, basically an adhesive sticker that you could use to lock down the ends too. But at some point that sticker is going to get loose also, so I just heat shrink it. This was a shorter piece of Winn wrap, left over from a different rod. So I'm just going to use this whole thing on this real quick. You can make these as long or as short as you want. There's a million different colors. I'm a big fan of bright green, as you can tell. So most of my rods, gas, all that good stuff, get the green. And this stuff not only looks good, but it feels good. Just like that, we're good, right? So I'll start in the middle and kind of tighten my hands in the direction that the wrap goes, and it just locks it down. Okay, super easy, and just like that, nice and comfy, right? So with that, I'm gonna do the back, and then we'll do some heat shrink. Let's see, I have a small piece of heat shrink right here. We'll go ahead and slide this down. Make sure we're gonna make it over the wrap. If not, we'll go with a bigger one. Okay, perfect. Cool. So I'll go ahead and cut this now, get it down here in case for some reason I have an issue getting over that one. I'm just gonna take a small piece of heat shrink. And I'm gonna make sure it covers, see where I started here? If I wasn't gonna heat shrink it, I would have cut this at a taper so that it would have started the wrap perfectly smooth. And we go over that in some of our rod building videos. But because I know I'm gonna heat shrink over it, I didn't even worry about it. I just wanna make sure that my heat shrink is wide enough to cover that starting point so that you won't even see it when I heat shrink over it. And it is. This looks like this is gonna be perfect when I cut it right in half. Make sure that's gonna be big enough too. Yeah, perfect. Cut it a little close, but I think we'll be all right. So this is just a scrap from a previous rod. Get on down there. Talk about a perfect diameter. Just makes it over. Okay. So right there, I use my finger to feel where that wrap, I can see it right there. Push it back to where I'm covering it by, say, 1/4 of an inch. So it's gonna shrink, right? When you shrink it, not only shrinks down this way, but it pulls in. Last thing I'm gonna do is shrink it down and then see a tag sticking out. So make sure you overlap it a little bit, okay? We'll go ahead and lock that guy down. And just like that, that Winn wrap is going nowhere. And it looks good too. It sets that green off by having that black accent up against it. And right here, same thing. Make sure we go past our lip a little bit. And if you want to, if you're all into the aesthetic part of it, which is totally cool, you can line up your X's, right? Make your patterns line up, which we might as well since we're talking about it. Actually looks pretty good right there. We'll roll with that. Lock this one down. Done. Cool. You could just go with that and then do some black back here, but we're in the Winn wrapping mood, so why not? You could do a little one if you wanted to, just for your hand, which we may. Because your hand never really comes down. We'll do a short one, not real long, but we're gonna do more than that. That's just not enough. Never enough green. Never enough green. So, same thing here. Just gonna take it and wrap it, and then I'll cut off the extra. There's definitely gonna be extra on this roll. Guys, I was leery when Winn started first pushing this stuff out, but I'm telling you, it's cool stuff. So my angle was a little off, not a big deal. Come back, pick this, and kind of get it closer. And then I'll back off from here and start again. Boom, right there, good enough, right? And don't worry about it being absolutely perfect, guys. It's gonna look good. The biggest thing is you don't want any big bubbles in it. If you have a table to work on, it makes it even easier. You may have seen in our previous videos where we built some gaps that I did those standing up on just the floor, and that made it kind of hard. If you have a table to lay it on, much easier. Takes a little bit of work, guys, but this is quick, easy, all things considered. And it just looks great. I'm a big fan of simple things that make things pop. I'm not fancy or flashy, but I do like my green. And it comes in a million colors: orange, red, blue, black, all kinds of good stuff. All right, so right there, we're at the end here, and we're gonna heat shrink it, so we don't have to go any further. I'm gonna take a pair of scissors. And cut this right where it stops. Okay. A little left over. Guys, you can always use this up for something cool. So I keep the scraps. Again, tighten it down really well. Let that adhesive just do its thing, but you gotta lock it down. And that's it. So then we'll take our heat shrink, Make sure it's the right size real quick. This looks pretty big. Yeah, this is pretty big, but it'll do. And just the same size. Yeah, same size. Okay. So, for continuity, I know I want about that much right there. That's the biggest gap I have to cover. Okay, I could go with that, or what I'm gonna do is make sure it's the same size as what I did here. And just mark that. It's gonna shrink a little bit, but not too much. So take that finger right there where I marked it, fold it in half. Now I know those pieces are gonna be the same, and then I can cut that piece in half again and be done. Right, there's that. While it's folded, cut it again. Now we have two perfect pieces. Just a tad bigger than that because it's going to shrink. And this is going to go on even easier because it's the size up, but it should still shrink all the way down. We'll see. It may not. I may have to go grab a smaller size. There you go, we're good. Our shrink wrap shrinks to, I think it's like 40%, or it shrinks 40% from its original diameter. So, makes it really easy to give yourself some leeway there. It doesn't have to be exactly perfect on size, okay? And then on the back side again, I'm gonna go overlap a little bit because I want to curl around the edge. That way if someone in the heat of the battle lays it down or puts it down in the rod holder with that metal end down first, it's gonna protect my boat and it's gonna just keep things much happier and smoother. It also makes the boat quieter if someone bumps the boat with it. See, I've got that extra little bump again on here. What I can do, if it'll let me, see how I can do it. I'll just do it down here. What I'm gonna do is just push it, I can do it against the wall actually. While it's hot, that little lip, just push it flat. And then once it dries or once it cools, it'll stay. And if it doesn't, that's okay too. It's gonna provide a little bumper on the bottom of the boat. I'm not worried about a little lip on the end. We're not doing a fashion show here, we're out there to kill gators. So, that'll cool off here in a few seconds. And guys, you can see I took nothing. A pair of scissors, a drill for the set screw and the harpoon, a heat shrink, and a heat gun or a hair dryer, or you can use a lighter or a torch. Just be careful, obviously. Nothing special needed. And now my harpoon and my bank set look pretty sweet. Cooling off. Yeah, it's already staying flat. See that? So while it's hot, you can pretty much put it in a position. If you keep it in a position while it cools, it's going to relatively stay there. So it looks so much better than just having a big bump on the back of a harpoon. So to make sure that that cools where I want it, I'll go ahead and let it dry, standing on end. And that's about it. I mean, if you wanted to, you could then take some of these little pieces and dress up your harpoon, if you wanted to. Just keep in mind, at some point you're going to have to wrap the ends, in my opinion. So if you have too small of a piece and you go to cover the ends, it may end up smaller than you think. Okay, I'm not going to do it because I'm going to dress this up with some green pool noodles in a couple spots that help the harpoon float, and that'll add the green pop that I need. Questions, comments, concerns, fire away. Oh, got it, the buoy.
Rudy Casey asks, any word on the 842s and 843s on back order?
They're on their way. Yes, they shipped today, Rudy. So rain shadows came in, I think yesterday up at Batson, and they were unpacking them when I talked to them, and they are shipping to us. I saw a bunch of invoices come through my inbox before I did this video, and I'm assuming those are all shipments, and one of them probably includes those blanks. So next week, we should have them. Thank you for your patience, Rudy. Guys, we just brought in a ton of inventory, especially when it comes to blanks. So everything should be really, really good to go there. Guys, as far as the gator hunting video goes, any questions, as always, you can give us a call. We're guides, but we're also here to help you if you're taking yourself or your friends, your family, or if you're a guide and need some equipment, let us know what we can do to help. It's literally, I love this stuff. This is my passion. I spent years and countless nights out there gator hunting, trying to figure it out. And I don't say that to brag, but I say that to let you know I've been there. I know the frustration. I know the pain. One, stick it out. Find little things that work. Two, use good equipment. There's nothing worse than having a failure cause you to lose a gator, or even worse, have somebody get hurt. Okay, there's no excuse for that. No one should be getting hurt gator hunting by any means. Stay safe, stay smart, hunt hard, use good equipment, and you'll have good results. Thanks for watching. Anybody else on the live feed got questions?
No.
No? Guys, we just sent out a newsletter about the crankbaits. So if you have any questions about crankbait blades, give me a shout. We've got quite a few specialized blanks for crankbaits. The Judge crankbaits, the Revelation crankbaits, the Rain Shadow RX6, which are actually glass, the GCBs, the glass crankbaits. Those are awesome. And you really want, if you're throwing crankbaits, you want a blank specific to crankbaits to get that action you want. So thanks for hanging with us. I know we kind of went on a gator tangent here, which was the purpose of the video. But for those of you who aren't gator hunters and still watched it, I appreciate you big time. So if that's it, we'll wrap it up. We'll see y'all on Monday. Love you. Have a great weekend. God bless.